Call to order this July 18th meeting of the Centreville Town Council. We'll start as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, members of the council, you should have the minutes from the June 20th meeting in your packets and distributed to you in advance. Are there any additions, changes, or corrections to those minutes? I do notice one place that Councilmember Keel's name is spelled wrong.
Again?
I'm starting to think we're doing that on purpose, and it's totally okay with me also. But on page 5, bullet 2, it is spelled wrong.
Let's pass a spell checker, I guess.
Noting that correction, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're a little early for, we have citizens forum first. All right, citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes and come up here to a microphone. Are there any citizens that wish to address the council at this time? Come on up. This room's a little wacky tonight, so.
It is a little wacky tonight.
My name is Joe Brown. I live in Centreville Village.
I think you're going to have to sit at a microphone for the people at home to be able to hear you.
What? Brown. That's hard.
Joe Brown's a celebrity gay.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of quick comments. Today I was at the Vincent Building and walking out to get to my car, and I look at that Board of Ed building, as I've done many times in the past. It's going up what I consider a prime commercial spot. Anybody answer how they got that property? Does anybody know? I mean,
Board of Ed
Yeah.
property? The county sold it to them.
The county's owned
The
that
county owns that property.
the county owns it now. I mean, they bought Vincent Street, the Vincent Building. many years ago.
They have the entire property where the YMCA is and the Board of Ed, and then over
Really?
on the other side, the county owns all that.
Why would
Yeah.
we ever do that? That's prime commercial spot.
It was sold
They
to
don't
them
need
by a
prime
private
commercial spot.
seller, right?
They put it in Jim's backyard.
I mean, yeah, my
Okay.
backyard too, but it was sold to them by a private.
Second thing
We don't
is
control that.
a request. I know you guys weren't involved in that. That's down the road probably. But anyway, just curious how that ever happens. The prior police chiefs have always given a report and provided written copies for the residents, citizens. I haven't seen that, and maybe the new chief is not aware that that was being done, but I'd like to see that. I mean, it was good information to get.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, we can start making sure there's
Want it back?
copies of that. I mean, no, you can have mine too if you want a couple, but we can start making sure there's copies of the police chief's report out there.
That's what they used to do, so.
It's an easy one.
The last thing, I just want to make you aware of everybody's familiar with the marijuana plant or whatever, but they were at our Symphony Village to do a talk about what they're trying to do for the odor. And it was a good talk, but, and I think they're doing a lot, they're working at it. But I was struck when the guy told me that they're dumping into the sewer. They're dumping byproduct into the sewer. And I just want make sure everybody knows that. Are there any impediments? Should they be doing that? Did we know that they're doing that? And, do we need to do anything different? And the last thing is, the town website is woefully out of date. Steve Klein's still showing us present. Dan's not there at all. I noticed the plastic bag man got on there, but, and those are only represented, those are a couple of things. There's a lot of stuff on there that's out of date. And it just, if we're going to have one, we ought to be able to keep it up to date. So
Yes,
those are my comments.
thank you. I'm looking at the town website right now, and it definitely shows me as council president, and
It's the
Picture.
group
I'm talking
picture
about
that
the
we
group
haven't,
picture.
that we haven't
Yeah,
been able to get
we have
together.
struggled for an evening in which everyone was both here and okay with the way they looked. But we will.
Set a date and everybody get their finest and come.
We
get
will
them.
prioritize. It is often the fault of my hair, but we will do our best to get a new group
Who
picture.
cares about your hair? That's fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other citizens that wish to address the council? All right, we just have If there was a second hand, I could tell you guys how long we have, but. All right, we are good. Actually, it's 7:05. So we will now have our public hearing on ordinance 7-2024, adoption of QAC Housing Code, second reading. And so this is our public hearing. I'll go ahead and read the public hearing notice. A resolution of the Town of Centreville for the purpose of updating the building codes of the Town of Centreville and providing for amendments thereto. I will now call Gay Adams, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certification of publication. This is to certify that the annexed legal advertisement has been published for ordinance number 07-2024 in the publications and in insertions listed below, the Star Democrat, on July 3rd, 2024.
Thank you. We will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 7-2024 and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony as well. Can you read the public comment guidelines?
Welcome to the meeting of the Centreville Town Council. This is a public meeting and we welcome your participation. By attending, you acknowledge that this session is recorded and aired live on QACTV 7, as well as if you have the new BreezeLine streaming box, channel 2001. During the meeting, we ask that you turn your cell phones off and hold personal conversations outside the meeting room. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The Town Council respects and appreciates your desire and right to convey your message freely. And in keeping with the dignity of proceedings, we ask that all community express in a respectful and civil manner. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. If questions are part of your comments, we'll refer to those to the appropriate individual. Thank you.
All right, we will now hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 7-2024. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on this topic? Okay, we will now hear from all those opposed to proposed ordinance 7-2024. Okay. The Centreville Town Council will consider all comments before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 7-2024. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
So,
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I now declare this hearing adjourned. Okay, we're going to move on to several appearances this evening, starting with our Centreville Main Street Manager, Carol DiAgostino, with an update about Drink Maryland.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you a few quick stats and to mention we have two of my awesome volunteers in the room, the Canes.
Here, here.
Wave, you're celebrities. Deb Kane has the dubious distinction of, and I don't know how she does it, at some point during an event, I always feel like my hair is on fire. And Deb just looks at me, smiles, and says, I'll take care of it. And she's awesome. So thanks, Deb. She keeps me sane. Anyway, so we just had a debrief dinner on Tuesday with our volunteers. They're all back in. They're very excited for next year already. And just wanted to share a few quick stats. We go ahead and get feedback from our artisans, our food vendors, and our corporate sponsors right at the event. And Caitlin, actually your neighbor, collected all but 2. It was like, that's awesome. So we had 32 returned surveys. Of those, 25 rated their experience excellent or good. 11 commented on less attendance, which we also recognize there seemed to be a little bit less people this year, which is kind of puzzling because, let's see, we had 462 tasting passes. Previous year we had 696, but we had many more advanced sales. So we had 249 advanced sales this year and only 138 the previous year. So not sure whether traffic issues, other events going on.
It's incredibly hot.
Yeah, so we're not sure. It's kind of an anomaly there. But it seems like the folks who were there had fun. We're already kind of knee-deep into looking at what we might want to do for next year. Interesting enough, while we were still on the event footprint, the event partner and the MC, we were talking about possibly doing a separate ticketed VIP experience, perhaps in one of the tents where folks would pay to have a private tasting or some sort of pairing event. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at, again, revisiting the concept of moving some of the alcohol on Broadway because to keep the people moving along. That's something that the event partner is really in charge of. Our members have been resistant in the past of doing that, but we'll bring that up again and see what we can do. We know next year we may have some implications on the renovations for the courthouse, depending on where they are. We may need to maybe get the stage again on Broadway. Not sure where they're going to be at that time, but from what I understand from Lee Egger, that from the I guess North Liberty side of Queen Anne to the front would all be snow fenced, so that would move the stage area. So we'll see when we get there and see what's what. Another great thing about my volunteers, and you know we have awesome volunteers, is that at the actual event where I was thanking them and we were doing a debrief, they said that they wanted to do something special for Public Works because Public Works, thank you, makes their job easier and allows them to focus more on what they're there to do. And interestingly enough, Public Works said to me at the event, I was getting ready to move the benches back, and all your volunteers already did it. So there's a public mutual admiration thing going on there. So it's always nice when people work together. So that's all I have there. I do have one quick additional thing, but very important thing. I know you all had received the emails about Project Restore. There is a quick quiz involved here. Let's
Oh,
see.
gosh.
So do any of you remember what the amount of the grant that we got was?
Yes, I do. 280.
Thank you. Well, it's funny.
Well, staff looked at the wrong link.
So what was really funny is I was off that day. Carolyn texted me and said, "Oh, don't be too disappointed. It's only
25.
25,000."
That's our Main Street grant, right?
Yes. So
Reading is fundamental.
I was less
Did not get on the
than-
right link.
Yeah, I wasn't practicing gratitude very well.
No.
And so I didn't even go into the document. So I was getting prepared to do a press release for us for it. And I was looking for the regional release that the state said that they were going to send out. So I Google Project Restore awardees. And up pops this article from Leonardtown. And I'm like, what? 200 and what did they? So I'm like freaking out. So then I go backtrack and it's like, we got $280,000. So as you guys may recall, the grant went from 30,000 to 300,000. So we only didn't get 20,000. So I'm like, hey, Carolyn. So yesterday we did a call with our property owner.
Awesome.
Carolyn, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
She, well, Carol asked her to sit down first.
Well, hold on. For those wondering what we're talking about, the corner, the building that's been vacant for a long time out here on the corner of Commerce.
102.
102 North
Commerce.
I
102
always get
North
them flipped.
Commerce, yeah.
102 North Commerce. Project Restore is a grant from the State Department of Housing and Community Development to help fix up dilapidated vacant properties.
Yes. So Carol and Tanya Wright, our grant writer, submitted a grant on behalf of the new property owners at 102 North Commerce. A lot of work went into that grant. So they were awarded $280,000 out of a $300,000 ask. So, and the purpose of it is to the first floor business part of it. So, but we called yesterday and she started crying. She was very overwhelmed with the grant and very excited and thanked all of us for helping them get that and how much it'll mean to them, and so.
And I want to applaud your competitive spirit. And I'm glad that there was a misinterpretation, but it's good to know that you were ready to fight
Well, see,
for the difference.
I'm a bit of a nerd, but everything that I do, I establish a goal for myself. So didn't tell anybody, but my thing was, if we get at least $100,000, I'll be happy, or I'll be satisfied. Maybe not happy, but, so that was my personal goal. So it was like,
She was way less than satisfied with 25,000, and when we thought that's what it was.
Fair.
I love it.
so we're super excited. According to the grant and the timeline, the property owner expects to activate that property, own it, and open their business by November of 2025. So
Awesome.
we're super excited about that. We finally have some realistic plans and a couple that's looks like they're able to do it. I was going by, we were doing restaurant photography at Una Mas today, and as I walked by, their workers are on the roof. So it's super exciting to have finally some there, and the fact that we were able to help them is just
Are
icing.
we able to share for everybody listening what is going in there?
Sure. They plan to open a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. I will gladly be beat up about that because, quite frankly, competition is great. And also, one of our things that we know works for this town is that if we can create restaurant clusters, we're in a better situation because our restaurants are the lifeblood in the evening. So the more restaurants we can have, the better off we'll be. And I think also there's a misunderstanding on how businesses actually open up their business. So typically, someone already has a business concept and they're looking for a property. In a perfect world, we would all, we could cherry pick people, but quite frankly, that's not reality in most cases. I mean, it would be nice if we could start to say we want this, and we want it there, but more times than not, that's not what really transpires. So super nice couple. I think they're going to be a great asset to us, so we're glad that we could help them.
Awesome. Thank you. Sure.
Thanks, Carol, for everything.
All right, our next appearance is a wastewater treatment plant update from our consultant.
I was going to say, you might as well come up too.
As you can tell, we haven't rehearsed, so that's okay. I'm David Nixon. I'm an engineer that works for Whitman Reckart and Associates. And about 2 months ago, my coworker Per Struck addressed the council discussing the wastewater treatment plant planned upgrade, and I wanted to give a little update on the outfall. So the treated effluent needs to go somewhere. We're expanding the wastewater treatment plant from 0.542 million gallons a day up to 1 million gallons a day. And that additional treated effluent needs to be disposed of in one way or another. And what we're looking at, one of the options is to expand the stream discharge. And to accomplish that, we need to extend the outfall out into the Corsica River proper. It's currently in gravel run adjacent to the treatment plant. And so we're working with Dr. Wang out of the Virginia Institute of Marine Science to develop a mixing study. That's the requirement for the application for the stream discharge. And we're also working with a environmental consultant to gather water quality baseline samples in the Corsica River at 4 of the locations that MDE and DNR have previously established and taken data from. But we need current data, so we're proposing to bring them on and do that part as well. And then the eventual goal is to, put all this information together into the application for the stream discharge permit. And another update is the preliminary engineering report, the final preliminary engineering report for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade itself has been submitted to MDE, and they are actively reviewing that. Typically takes, 90 days at least for them to review that, and they've had it for about 6 weeks, so.
David, do they come back with, I don't know the answer to this question, do they normally come back with it after you submit the final with more changes, or?
They can.
They can,
But they did a multi-department review of the
During,
draft.
when we were doing it?
PER, and we gave them responses to all of their comments. So it should only be that, if we didn't adequately address the comments, that they would add comments or ask us to add more. So that's what we would expect, that there would be a few, if any, additional comments. And that's my update.
That covers it, yeah.
Any questions?
I got one. So the last time Janelle and I spoke, my understanding was that from that point in time, a few months ago, to plant is running and operational was, say, a 4 to 6 year period. Is that sort of what we're still thinking about at this point?
Correct. And the outfall and the application for the stream discharge is going to take a few years to work through that as well. So that's why we're working those two in parallel. MDE and their ENR grant funding is specific to the treatment plant upgrade, and that's what the PER was submitted for. Now we need to develop the outfall, and specifically where is that going to go in the Corsica River, and what impact is it going to have, and then applying for the permit.
I know at our last meeting that I unfortunately had to miss, we had some environmental folks come from Corsica River, river keepers, and feeling really strongly about, gosh, can you guys consider reverse osmosis? And I think we're all here totally faced with the very tough hill to climb, that the plant costs this much and we've raised about this much, and so having to raise that additional amount, what I continue to hear that's refreshing and just warms my heart is that if even 10 years from now we somehow came into millions of dollars and could afford that, it's the system is scalable sufficient to where that could happen. And so one of the things that I haven't understood, and I'm not expecting you to be prepared to speak to this tonight, is when and if that potential module was added, what type of operational, upkeep and maintenance does that add? Because it's not as simple, we all know this, to just say, well, if it's going to be 8 to 10 million more, then that's it. So, what is the additional? So, but again, I'm not expecting you to speak to that tonight, but it's something I would be just curious about, ballpark of what other towns are paying for a similar thing.
And Councilmember Worth asked that at the last meeting as
Right.
information we might like to have, so that would be super helpful to have. Yeah, we are faced with the reality of the funding here.
And the maintenance cost as well. not
Yeah,
just
I mean,
the-
yeah, the
not
ongoing,
financial
no, I mean, in addition to getting the plant built, then you do have to keep it operational without raising rates, hopefully. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and next we have another appearance.
You need help?
Mary Margaret Goodwin is here to make a presentation to us, and just thrilled to see you here, so.
Okay. So first of all, I will tell you that I came out here tonight having left my hearing aids sitting on the kitchen counter, which doesn't do me any good.
You just didn't want to hear from
Everybody
us.
So say, good for you.
Loudly.
We can hear you, but
I don't hear. I wanted to beg your indulgence to just go through a few things so that you know that I'm capable of doing what I'm asking to do. So, first of all, and I found a copy, when we held the tricentennial for Queen Anne's County, the town council at that time gave me the permission, and we put together what ended up to be a 2-hour Queen Anne's County, basically Centreville DVD. So I'm thinking that I'm going to add on to that and redo that DVD. So that's the first thing. I was with Kennard in the very, very, very beginning when they had the old Black American Legion building, and we started talking about what could be done with Kennard. So I've been with Clay from the very beginning, and there's a lot that's in that museum that's my work hanging on the wall. Second point, the 1812 park, which is up next to the Queenstown Emergency Room. I built that. But not only that, I got the land to build it on from the state. And at a time when everybody said I wasn't going to be able to pull it off, and we did.
Mary Margaret, that's the Slippery Hill site. Is that right, the Slippery Hill
It
site?
is, it is.
I did.
He's good.
Slippery Hill.
Never mind, we got it.
It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can ask afterwards.
I won't interrupt again.
Okay. With that park, I also did a 15 big plates of history trail through the whole county, at least 3 of which are here in Centreville, including one which needs to be redone on the courthouse green. The sun has eaten it alive lately. I've done 8 years with the American Legion, with great thanks to them, and they're here tonight. Reading the Declaration of Independence. Ashley's been one of the readers for the last 2 years. On the 4th of July, we start that tradition, which was actually, we didn't even have a courthouse in Centreville, nor in Queenstown. When it was a tavern, when the citizens came and signed for Maryland to sign to join the revolution. I don't know if all of you remember, I think you must, when I brought the Black Knights from West Point, and they did the gun performance in honor of the 1812 last American in the last battle to die in the War of 1812 was from here. And on that day, it was one of, I think, in some ways, one of the most emotional, because I had been searching for that person's descendants for months and months, and had discovered a whole raft of letters which the state archives had misfiled of his whole life story. So I started looking for his family, and what ended up happening was that the last 24 hours before we were going to be out here on the green doing the performance, I found them and I got them here so that they didn't even know they had an 1812 hero, and they were able to come here and put the brick here in the memorial right here in the square. So that's been one of my things that I'm quite proud of. But here's another one, and this one cost me a bit. Actually, I put my property taxes for my house at great risk to do this. You all know the store here at the wharf, the old Osmond store. Well, they kept exceptionally good ledgers with notations of every bottle of whiskey that anybody in the area bought from them, but also all of the shipping, everything. So I even know when people got in fights, it's because I can trace back what day they bought, how much liquor they got. But one of the neatest things that happened as a result of that is that the Harper's Weekly had, did you ever think about how grass was cut? There weren't lawnmowers in those days, right? So they were cut with big scythes. And somebody in America got the idea of having a scythe that was taller and bigger than any tall person. And they actually made it, and they had a picture advertising it in 1863 on the front page of Harper's Weekly. I went to look in the Osmond Ledger for 1863 to see if they even had one. Old Mr. Turpin from Locust Farm, a week after he had to have read Harper's Weekly, he was in the store, $300 cash. He bought that sign, the only one in town. But that was Mr. Turpin in 1863. So those books will be under the care, when I go, under the care of the State Archives, but there will be full access. And I think Adam Goodhart is also thinking about using it to write some of local history on an individual who comes regularly in that book. So I also want to mention that I do a lot of assistance for people, not the least of which is just today, this afternoon, 4 o'clock, came a request, could I please tell them and help them find, or I think it was 1945 or something like that, they wanted the school notebooks for what snow days there were. So people think that I can really burrow down. I'm not always able to answer, but I do try. I have a huge surprise coming either at the end of this year or in the first part of this next year for the history of Hillside that could really involve a lot of tourism coming to Centreville if we develop what I have found. Okay, so all of this is to tell you that in 1876, when the courthouse was being worked on by the same Captain Smith that built your house,
Right.
the same year,
Yep, same year. Yeah.
the exact same year.
1876,
He
right.
was working on the courthouse here and working on your house at the same time.
Right.
But in addition to that, he was also involved in planning the entire celebration for 1876 commemoration of birthday of America. Well, I'm not Captain Smith. I'm sorry, but I would really, really like to do a happy birthday from us, because in 2026, the state has already started their planning, and they're looking for every organization, town, city, county, to do their own plans. And I have already formed a commission. Dan will be doing something, the fire, and he's going to be doing trains and transportation. The fire company, Debbie Kane is here. She's going to help with not only the Legion aspect, but also the women's aspects, the women's history as well. Elaine Studley has agreed to do this with me. I've been trying to reach Penny Linz, but I haven't been able to make her contact, but I can't imagine that she would say no. I mean, maybe I have to twist her arm or something. I don't think so. So just as a final sort of push to get you all to agree to do this, I have to tell you that I have what amounts to almost 2 floors of history collection of Maryland and county and town history. And I just picked the ones that I love best about Commerce Street. So I'm going to start them off. And then after you all have seen it, then I'm going to put them here and everybody else. So this first one is the garbage wagon. How do you imagine garbage was collected? And this is, and I forget the name of the white horse, but the white horse, and there are people that I have known, they have now passed, who when they were 3 and 4 years old, rode on that wagon, and that's how I got the picture. So that's 1914. In the same year, there was a huge agricultural fair, but it was for kids. And they all came, over 1,000 kids came to Centreville for one weekend. And there was a march. And they came by train. So this is the picture of everybody, the picture you see is where the restaurant is at the railroad tracks. So that's what you're seeing. And then this is the picture of the kids marching through the town. That picture's not been out at all, so.
Cool.
I don't think anybody. And now, what is my most favorite?
That's awesome.
And this is, again, 1914, and it's the way that I was proudly able to help the town deal with the state when it came to getting the cost of, what was it? How much?
I don't remember the amount.
I was told it was over 50.
Could have been.
Over 50,000 or more.
We were doing the,
Getting that down, because I was able to prove to the state that the roads weren't paved in and so, and this is
Oh, yeah.
1920, when we first had little motor buggies. And then you can just lay them out on the table.
I've seen that book many times.
I do want to just say that if nothing else, there's one other qualification. And you will really, really like this. There's nobody who's a historian who keeps the original sewer pipe in their living room.
Gosh.
Oh, no.
That's all you.
And I do. When they were breaking everything up, I went out and collected the sewer pipes so that I could see exactly what, and they were pretty rudimentary, by the way. So what I'm really proposing is this town commission to put together a group to, and John Neisner is here, not only because he's my best friend and helper in all of the history work that I do, but he's also here because he represents the mill, Y Mill. And Y Mill, more than Chester Mill, more than the mill up, the 1812 mill up by 301, all of those mills were nothing compared to Y Mill. And we were shipping out of our wharf the bread that was being sent up the bay to head of the bay to give to the Revolutionary War soldiers. And that is what they ate. Wow. The bread was from fields here in this area. And so we're going to try, if we can, to recreate bringing the wagons, horse-driven wagons, with the caskets as they would have been carried, and bring them straight down Chesterfield and do the whole bit of rolling the caskets down the road to the wharf and then getting them on board and getting an actual ship to come in and do the reenactment of sailing off with these as well. That's the dream, that's the hope of, as one of the events, but we'll see.
Cool.
And also one of the other members of the commission that's agreed is John Leo Walters, right here. Because if you look in all of those pictures, his building is one of the buildings that's still strongly surviving right there.
Right.
But it's always in this, it must have been a big deal for every photographer because they always focused that building and then everything else sort of went off to the side. So I would really appreciate your approval to put this commission together, and it's,
Yeah, I mean,
it'll
sounds like you're a part of it, Dan.
Yeah,
so.
that's
keep
great.
coming back.
So is Jeff, apparently, so, yeah, we're,
And I'd like to help too.
Needs-
okay.
I want to be able to, when the state brings
Yeah.
everybody together and asks, because they're coming out and asking everybody, what are you doing, what are you doing? And I want to be able to say, well, we've got this group and this is what.
Yeah. I think, sounds like we have consensus up here to participate, and you know where to find us, whatever you need.
You know where to find me too.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Do you need help, Mayor Margaret?
All right. Well, it's exciting. Next up, the consideration of ordinance 7-2024, which is the housing code that we had the hearing for earlier today.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 07-2024, which adopts the current building code.
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Beecham?
Yes.
Council Vice President Johnson?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Worth?
Yes.
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, next up, my favorite topic. Resolution 16-2024 related to cemetery fees. I'm just going to turn this over to Carolyn to discuss.
So we had realized that some of our fees for the cemetery, sorry, let me get to the right page. No, I got it, thank you. We were not charging what we were being charged, or just a very minor difference. So we went through, we had a meeting, we went through the fees that were being charged and decided to upgrade some of the fees that are on here. So this ordinance, or this resolution is to update those fees.
Okay, has the cemetery, I know it's a little bit loose, have they considered that, looked at this, or?
You know what? They just met on Tuesday, so no, I don't think they have seen
Okay.
this. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, to me, it makes sense to charge actual cost. Any discussion?
Do I understand that the amounts listed under E are a premium in addition to regular fees A through D?
Right, and these fees we actually do not collect, but we wanted to put them on our fee schedule. So these are paid directly to Chesapeake, thank you, I could not come up with it. Chesapeake Burials when it's a weekend holiday. So we just wanted to make sure we included them on the fee schedule, but they don't come to us.
Just for nomenclature, a little clear that that is a premium over the primary charges might be helpful.
Okay. And this is only, those charges actually, if they're going through a funeral home, the funeral home charges those fees. It's only if they come to us without going through a funeral home, then they would get paid directly to. Yes, but we'll put that on there.
Okay,
What are these fees? Have you checked other fees of other entities, cemetery?
These fees, other than the sale of space, these fees are based on Chesapeake's fees. Yeah.
okay. This is a resolution, so we can act on it tonight? Do people need more time with it? Are we ready to, does someone have a motion?
I'm willing to make that motion that we approve the resolution of the Town Council of Centreville to adopt a revised cemetery fee schedule. And of course, as resolution number 16-2024, noting the suggestion that was made by my fellow council member, Jim Beecham.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Beecham.
Yes.
Council Vice President Johnson.
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Worth.
Yes.
Councilmember Keel.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Next up, we have ordinance 8-2024. This is a temporary moratorium sponsored by Councilmember Worth.
Yes, as we discussed at the last meeting, this is a moratorium to allow the planning commission time to work on changes to the code that are needed to mainly to refine the concept of what a complete neighborhood is. Right now, we have a temporary measure using TNDs and plan unit developments to compensate for that, but that part of the code needs to be revised. At the same time, I guess staff has recommended that we also revise our capacity management plans and sewer allocation policies to better reflect what we want to see with the remaining capacity and whatever capacity might be added with the completion of the wastewater plant in 5.5 years. Okay, so this moratorium would put the consideration, the approval, the construction processing, issuing permits, all of that, once the, anything that's in process for a 6-month period.
All we need to do this evening is kick it to the planning commission, right?
Right.
Okay. Do we have to do that, or does it just go there?
We refer it to it.
Okay.
You refer
So we
to the
take a vote?
Yeah, you could do it by vote, or I think you as the
Okay,
president
so-
of council could just refer it to. the
Sure,
planning
we'll
commission.
refer it to the planning commission.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Next up, ordinance 9-2024, also Councilmember Worth.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, we've been messing with this for about a year or two. As a result of changes in the state law concerning cannabis in general, that we need to revise our code so we just don't confine dispensaries to being medical dispensaries, because now recreational use is allowed. Also, we clearly don't allow the smoking lounges, basically. We're going to make it clear that those are not permitted, they're not a permitted use. And while we were working on this section of the code, thought it'd be useful to maybe adjust the boundaries, the distances that are between the various dispensaries, how far they are from schools, how far they are from playgrounds and houses. So that part maybe could be adjusted if people think they're, I don't see any problem with the current dispensary we do have in town, and, that having them in town is really not a detriment, and we really should, reduce the distances so that others could be allowed in town as the licenses become available. So this once again would go to the planning commission, since it's
All right,
a change to the code.
any discussion before we refer this to the planning commission? All right, we'll refer it to the planning commission. Thank you, Councilmember Worth.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have a memo in our packets about the lead and copper inventory grant. This is going to be you, Carolyn?
Nope, it's going to be Karen.
Oh.
All right, so a few council meetings ago, you guys approved for us to apply for the lead and copper grant because of the inventory that's required by the state. So we got the information that we were approved for the grant request. However, the grant request of $62,000 comes in two parts, a $15,550 loan and a $46,652 principal forgiveness grant. In order to accept the grant funds, you must accept the loan. The grant piece is considered a grant, but it's not forgiven. It takes 10 years, so it sits on your books as debt for 10 years. And so we wanted to come back and ask that you guys, if you were okay with that, the inventory is required, and it's such a small loan. We've tried to get some forgiveness information and amortization schedule. We're still waiting on some info, but we wanted to see what your thoughts were on the loan portion.
So your recommendation is that we accept?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Any discussion, or anyone want to offer a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Maryland Water Infrastructure Financing Administration grant for the lead and copper inventory in the amount of $46,650 and a loan in the amount of $15,550.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm next, so I'll just hang around for a second.
Sure, more about
Lead and
lead and copper inventory.
And so what this is basically is, obviously, we're getting ready to start the process of doing the inventory. Part of the inventory is done by us as the owner of this water systems. We also need input from customers within the town. So there's approximately 1,000 mailers that we're going to try and send out with a survey on information about things such as plumbing codes, permits, am I on the right piece? Water systems. So in order to get as much back or feedback from citizens, we thought, could we do a small bill credit that says, hey, if you return this survey, you get a $5, $10, $15, $20 credit on your bill. And so that's what this memo is bringing to you. I'm letting you know that each $5 credit costs about $5,000 reduction in revenue. So
That's
not a,
if all 1,000 people
Submit it
respond.
back.
or to respond,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What's your recommendation?
I think I think 5's a little low. I think a lot of people are going to get a survey and it may chunk it. But if you did, I would think somewhere along the $15 to $20 line to make it worth the residents. We're filling it out, answering all the questions and returning it back so that we can get the most from them. So when the people come in to do the inventory, we have all the information.
Okay, does anybody have any feelings about that up here?
I would be willing to support the 20 amount.
How will that be dealt with in the budget?
So it would be a reduction in how the revenue comes in. So I would do it on it would be on the enterprise fund side. It all depends on how the usage and all that rolls out this year.
Can the grant reimburse the enterprise fund for this? No?
No. Yeah, no, sorry. It would be nice. And, I mean, 20,000 is relative to look at the entire budget. It's not a big amount. And I would expect 60% is what my expectation is. A $20 credit's pretty nice. So, if you get them in the mail, fill them out and send them in, and the credit will be on your next bill. But I still would expect around a 60%. That's what my thought is.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion. I make a motion to approve an incentive in the amount of $20 for completion and submission of the lead service line inventory survey.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, before we go into reports wow, I'm really tired, you guys. Before we go into reports of boards and commissions, I want to discuss that a little bit overall. There's an error on the agenda. I would like to start putting agenda review back at the top of our agenda, part of our council rules that we adopted, just so if there are irregularities in the agenda, we can deal with it at that time, if that's all right. So we'll start with agenda review after the moment of silence. Anyway, there was a couple of meetings ago an expression that without CETA and without the town like having its arms around other private efforts, that the economic development liaison is the liaison to nothing, which I think is probably a fair criticism. And I think we need to look at reinvigorating CETA or what else would make sense there. In the meantime, I did offer to the council vice president the ability to be the liaison to the Parks Board while we figure this out. Unfortunately, he has a conflict there. But in the immediate future, until we have some formalized economic development entity, we're going to take that off of the boards and commissions just until we have a decision. I think it's probably time to look at bringing CETA back. It seems like the council vice president has gotten some renewed energy around economic development, but I think when something is presented as the business of the town, that it should be a town board or commission with people appointed that are town residents that are appointed by this body. And so before we go into the reports of boards and commissions, I'd love to just have a conversation a little bit and hear everybody's thoughts.
I was the original sponsor of CETA, so I'm a little biased. I would love to see that come back. I had the help of economic development professionals in the state of Maryland in drafting that and putting that together, and I think that it was a very deliberate and conscious effort to structure the board in the way that the ordinance does to allow for a diversity of opinions and interests and make sure everything is covered. I would love to see CETA back invigorated.
So for process-wise, it's an ad hoc status, right, Sharon, CETA? So we could just elect to bring it back and ask the public to apply for appointment to it? Yeah. Okay.
I love the idea.
So I feel like that's sort of where we are. Let's all do our best to get members of the public to apply for appointment to CETA, and then we'll go from there. That's probably our best next step.
Sounds good.
All right, great. Now for the other boards and commissions. Maryland Municipal League.
So Maryland Municipal League had their annual summer conference a few weeks ago. Councilmember Keel and I represented the council here, and I think we had 5 staff members, senior staff members. Is that right? Yes. Town Manager Carolyn was there. Finance Director Karen was there. She's left the room. Gay was there. That was great. Crystal, who's not here, was there, and Janelle, who is here. So I'm so pleased that the senior staff is able to attend. It can be a very educational and meaningful event. We had a little huddle during the conference in the hall between sessions, and we had talked about working together to get a presentation for the rest of the council, the rest of the staff, and the public at large. We knew that tonight's agenda was going to be kind of full, so we weren't going to tackle it for tonight. I, for one, there were two things I just want to tease you with. I attended two that were really fascinating. One was on artificial intelligence, and the other one was on the successful development of Leonardtown, a long-term effort to really bring Leonardtown around. So I know there are others that other members of the town staff and Jeff attended, so I'm looking forward to working to find agendas where we can fit these presentations in. But it was a great event, and thank you.
Awesome.
all I got.
That's great. Council of Governments.
Nothing, no meeting until September.
Okay. Park Advisory Board. Gay, do we have a movie?
Yes. Our movie is called,
Little
Wait
Rascals.
for it.
gotta say it right. Encino?
Encanto?
Magneto.
It's about the
Awesome.
girl in
Yes, that's a great choice.
and the new one
Well
is coming out
done.
in 2024. So that is what we're gonna. Park Advisory chose that too.
Wonderful. Guys, you don't know how happy I am. I was concerned there was going to be some fireworks at this meeting related
What's
to
the
that movie.
Did you want it to see, what was it?
You can have the DVD. It's in Carolyn's office, I think.
Oh, yeah, we still have last year's DVD.
All right, Planning Commission.
Let's see. Well, the Planning Commission, at their last meeting, was busy once again. They reviewed the annexation resolution and decided that it's consistent with a comprehensive plan. They made a favorable ruling on the zoning change to TND in the TND ordinance. They recommended that the open space be released from the proposed annexation, but they do want to keep the forest conservation easement as part of the agreement. They want to preserve the forest conservation. Let's see, and they also made a favorable recommendation on the application to annex properties. I didn't make good notes here. There were changes mainly having to do with front-loaded garages, and they suggested some changes that would be more consistent with their design guidelines. And they also approved the annual report to the Maryland Department of Planning, which I believe you all got a copy of that by email.
Awesome.
Okay. And I believe, they don't meet, they didn't meet last night. They meet again. They have a work session August 7th.
Okay, great.
What was that date again? I'm sorry.
August 7th.
August 7th, yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah, oh yes, that's all.
I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah. all right.
Okay. Reports, I'm sorry, guys, it's a long week. Reports of department heads. Town manager.
I just have a couple things. The first thing I wanted to bring up is and she's gone, but the cemetery committee has, they would like to kind of make the columbarium a little more visually appealing, I think. So they have gotten a quote to put a brick walkway around the columbarium, and in the amount of $16,900. They actually have, because they get a percentage, and I apologize because I cannot remember what the percentage is of the perpetual care each year. They get a percentage of the interest we make off of the perpetual care fund. So they currently have $11,195.31 in the perpetual care fund, and they would like to get this work completed, and will be using the remaining amount, $5,704.69, out of their midshore, where they do their fundraising from. So I told them I did not want to give them the okay until I got the okay from the council to do this. So it would be a walkway all the way around, and they are using, maybe everyone else understands this, but they're using Lehigh Type S mortar in between, so this does not allow weeds and grass to grow up in between the bricks. So they were very excited about that. So,
Means nothing to me.
so I just wanted
Sounds
to
cool.
get the council's okay for that. If
So the 11,000 you mentioned out of the perpetual care fund, that's their allocation of their portion of the interest earned. It's not
correct,
principal
it's not
portion.
the principal.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Clarification.
they get. Karen must be watching. She must be watching on her phone. But, she said they get 90% of the interest earned on the account. So,
Okay.
yeah. So it's the interest and then 90% of that interest. So,
I love a meeting where we talk about the cemetery so much,
I
so,
know. I know.
I mean, I guess that we don't make the Parks Board come back and say, this is how we're spending, do we have to approve this? Can they just do? I don't know.
They're looking for more money, right?
No.
Oh, they're going to use their
They-
mid-shore money?
It's all their money, right?
So their
now.
all
private
their money.
fundraising
Yeah,
money
yeah.
and their perpetual care
all
money.
their
I'd
money.
rather not be involved.
Right.
Yes, all their
Okay.
money.
Just wanted to make sure.
Cool.
Okay. Are you talking about that under Brambles under your report?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. So right now Brambles, and maybe Kip wants to do it under his report, but Brambles is tentatively scheduled for, I believe it's Monday, July 29th, to complete the work here in front of the police department on 213.
Okay.
So, the chief and I attended a training on Monday, which I thought was really good. I think he's been to these before, but it was before, during, and after the crisis managing the media firestorm. So I thought it was really helpful. I got a lot of good information, and we each had to speak during it, so that was, that was fun too. Saturday is, the county will be removing the elm on the courthouse square. The contractor has told them they will not take them more than one day to do it, so it should be complete on Saturday.
So Lawyers Row will be closed,
Lawyers
just
Row
as a
will be
reminder.
closed. Yes, beginning at 7 a.m. Lawyers Row will be closed.
Can we make sure that bags or signs get out the night before?
Yeah, I think they're going out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And our Centreville update would be a great place to highlight that.
Yeah.
We'll get that out, yep.
I'm waiting for the social media to blow up because they're going to cut a tree down. A
Well, the
ditch.
county has been already.
We'll count on you as our honorary PIO to handle all
I
of that.
nominate
October, what?
Councilman
Not
Keel
doing it.
formally for that.
No, I'm doing it.
And I don't know, just to put this out, and we don't have to answer this tonight, we can do it at the next meeting, is if the council has considered if you want the second meeting in August, which would be August 15th. We have the first scheduled, but we
Yeah.
can do the second one.
So I will be out of town for another commitment. I had mentioned that previously. I believe that's the case for at least one other member of the council. So I would be in favor of us not having the second meeting in August.
Yeah, I'll be returning from vacation that day. I could probably make it, but don't want to
Let
have
me
it.
tell you what it's
training
like.
for
You've
vacation.
been here for a meeting after you've been gone for several days,
Yeah.
as is my case this evening.
So that's all I have.
So I think we don't do the
Cancel.
second meeting in August, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, great. So we'll have another long meeting, I'm sure, on the 1st, which is great. Okay. Chief of Police. You have nothing? Does anyone have anything for the chief? No? Okay. Any other that you want to have come up? Oh, yes.
Kip is here to give a report.
Okay. This is so exciting.
Well,
And it's all downhill from here, it sounds like.
all right, I'm going to hand out Kip's, he did a memo for the.
Nothing like a surprise memo.
Yeah, you may not be excited as excited when you see it. The memo they're passing around is to inform you that at the end of last week, we received notice from the Maryland Department of the Environment that our wastewater treatment plant has been referred to the Office of the Attorney General for a consent order. This is following up on some violations that we had going back to 2021. It's outlined in your report there. There's four instances where some limitations weren't reported. This was due to a new renewed permit that came out, and the operators just missed that portion in the permit that we were supposed to be sampling and testing for BOD and total suspended solids, and we were supposed to be reporting percent of removal from what comes through on our raw effluent feeding plant. There was 4 other instances where the phosphorus had exceeded the limits, both in the as far as the maximum monthly average and as far as the maximum total for phosphorus. As you recall, we've gone from town staff operating the plant to contract operations, and we've had 2 different contractors taking care of that. Of course, first one was Maryland Environmental Service, and the one that we're currently with is Susquehanna Environmental. These phosphorus violations were due to the operators changing from a chemical that we had used for sequestering of the phosphorus to aid in the removal. They felt they had a chemical that would work better, and it didn't, and the dosing was off.
And so was that corrected? Like, we have 2 months of that violation and then it's corrected?
It's corrected.
Okay.
It's corrected now with a different operator operating it and, working with us. And
So we don't have ongoing issues?
No, none of these are ongoing violations. So we actually met with them on May. It was around May 11th, I think it was.
I think we had to increase the budget on chemicals so they could
Yeah.
do this properly, so, yeah, right.
What-
Who is drafting the response to this order that the Office of the Attorney General requires?
I'll be drafting it.
Okay.
I say me and my staff
Right.
will be drafting it.
What's the
Will our town
deadline?
attorney have a chance to review that before it goes out?
Certainly can. We've got 30 days to respond.
Thank you.
So 30 days from July 11th or from the certified mail?
From July 11th
Okay.
was the date of the initial notice.
I think the letter went out the same day as the,
Yeah, so,
I appreciate you sharing this with us. I'd appreciate getting this in advance in the future. Like if
well,
we've known about this for a week.
it was late Thursday when we got it.
Yeah.
Your packets went out on Friday.
I'm
and I
okay with
didn't-
getting something, and it's not your fault at all. I'm okay with getting something between the packet release and the meeting. I'm a little less okay being handed this during the meeting.
I would just rather be able to review it, and I
Yeah.
get the chance to before you get it. That may be able to hedge off some angst about things. One thing that this, once the Office of the Attorney General looks at it, and they're the ones that will wind up looking through and determining fines, if there are any. Usually there are fines, but there's also a settlement agreement we can reach with them that they usually waive a good part of the fines. I can't say how much or anything. I have no clue. this also will help open the door possibly for other funding for the new wastewater plant. And they are aware that they have the preliminary engineering report. They're aware we are working on it, the design of the plant and everything. So a lot of these work hand in hand with this as well.
So what's the process? And maybe Sharon's the right person to ask that, but we respond, and then do we have an administrative law hearing about fines, or what's the?
The last time we did not have that, I believe. They'll present us with the settlement agreement in order, and then we reviewed it and commented on it, and I think we worked out some
Okay.
language, but it's been a while since we did that, so unless their process has changed, I do not think
Okay.
there's an administrative law
Great.
here.
As a follow-on question to that, Sharon, based on your experience and/or KIPS with dealing with these, is there sort of a rough order of magnitude that we think we can expect in terms of fines, or too soon to really tell based on?
I mean, unless Sharon has a better idea about it, I have never seen anywhere where it's listed to tell you what you're going to be fined for what violation. They kind of ballpark a figure out of the air. And like I say, when you go through the settlement and agreement, we can get that reduced. So
Well, keep us posted.
certainly will.
Still excited to have you up here presenting, even with bad news. So welcome back. I know your Thursday nights haven't been same for a while, so we're glad to have you.
And next time come up with better news.
Yeah,
Buy a tractor or something and come tell us about it.
yeah, there we go.
Those are always my really favorite. Is that it?
That's all.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
Town clerk.
We have our new hire starting on the 22nd, Monday the 22nd. So we'll have a new admin in our office, and we're really excited to get her onboarded. And we've started that process already, so she will be, to meet the council.
Awesome.
And so her name's Jessica.
Cool.
Forward to you guys meeting her. She's great.
Awesome.
And I had a chance to stop in the town hall to see kind of the renovation to allow for a third desk, and I did not see that as possible. And now,
I'm going to walk over there.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm impressed.
I
So
was in there when she was measuring, I didn't see it.
I'm going to walk over there
Yeah,
for real.
tape measure out. You can measure all kinds.
Okay. Anything else from town staff? Okay, citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes. Any citizens that wish to address the council? Okay, council roundtable. Councilmember Keel. Oh, God.
I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but a lot of people, the fireworks. Well, I actually think I found a place that we can shoot them off now.
Where are you going to buy them?
That's the other problem, so I wanted to say if we can check in and see how much they cost again. I don't know if they went down or they stayed the same.
Why don't we, it's just a suggestion, set our sights on the big 250 in 2 years and try to have fireworks then.
Okay, all right.
I mean,
was
let's start
checking.
getting prices now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, sign people up. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
that'll be a popular.
Let's do it big
Right.
for the big day.
yeah,
Yes.
because I know I got a piece of property and I know we can do it, and it's not far from where we used to do it.
Yes, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yep,
Fantastic.
so good. Yeah, so we'll plan on 2 years. At least we'll have fireworks sometime.
Appreciate you as always. Councilmember Beach, was there anything else? Sorry.
That's it.
Councilmember Beecham.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Worth.
Nothing to report.
Council Vice President Johnson.
I just have a couple quick things. The first one, it really warms my heart that we have consensus on bringing back CETA. Just a suggestion, I think it would be really cool if maybe each of us tried to recruit one person that we think would be good for that. And then on the nonprofit side of things, the next Centreville Reaching for Economic Development Enterprise nonprofit group for economic development is Wednesday, July 24th at 5:30 p.m. at the YMCA. And one of the cool things that we're going to do is really focus in that meeting on a workshop to assess the town's implementation of the 2017 economic development study that was done. And I shared once before that, believe it or not, there's several things in that document that we have done successfully. So I think there's a couple points on which to celebrate. It's not an all bad news story. We had a plan and a study and we spent money on it and didn't do anything. So that will not be the story. So, and then I shared with council an update on the Hometown Heroes banner project. Delmarva Power continues to, on the record, say no. We're not necessarily giving up there, but in the meantime, I did mention, and we have some folks that were here earlier that are part of the Legion that were very concerned, and so I shared that we are at least conceptually supportive of using lampposts that the town owns. I'd like to connect with Kip and folks at Public Works just to see what their thoughts are, and if that's okay. And then, of course, Councilman Worth mentioned that Verizon, I guess, owns some of the poles on your street along Commerce, so I don't think the project's dead in the water, and I know that'll make Leah Hall, the project manager, very happy because she's collected a lot of money and a lot of families that were real excited about being able to honor their veteran loved ones. So my worst fear was we were going to have to say send the money back. So it looks like we've got other options. That's all I have.
Okay, great. I have just a couple of things. First Friday will be August 2nd, 6 to 8. Right out in the town square. And then are the deadlines for the election on the town calendar?
There's
I meant to check before the meeting.
I have to look to see if check if they're on the calendars. We have updated the election. There's an election button on the front.
When people are mad about fireworks, they tend to say that we never have elections in the town, and I love to inform you that we unfortunately have them every single year. It's always election year in the town of Centreville, so
They're in November.
do not despair.
Yeah, they
And
do.
it's my
I
seat.
didn't think it was in October. I thought it was
My
November.
seat is up for October. I did pick up my paperwork.
Good.
So thanks, Gay and Carolyn, for that.
Yeah, I don't mean to suggest that I would like people to run. I'm just saying, should you be feeling like we never have elections, unfortunately, we always have elections. So
October, not November.
on a Monday, not a Tuesday. Lots of fun there, but we'll make sure we
We're
send a lot of
special in so
emails.
many ways.
So many ways. We'll send a lot of emails, and you can make sure you have a fireworks supportive crew up here at all times.
Move to close.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.